Hello, David Allen. Welcome to the DoingCXRight show.
Thanks for the invitation, Stacy. Glad to be here.
I have been following you for quite some time because you have an approach to getting organized, getting things done in a way that really works. So I'm so excited to bring the gift of you to my audience. And before we get into that, can you share who are you? What do you do professionally?
Well, for the last 35 plus years, I've started my own consulting practice, discovered best practices for staying focused and in control and giving yourself more mental space for myself, started turning those into services I was providing to my consulting clients, produced the same kind of results for them that it did for me. And then I wound up being seen by somebody in the big corporate training world. And he said, gee, our whole culture needs that. So I found myself thrust into the corporate training business. So for the last 35 years, I've been, considered an expert in personal productivity, coaching and training. And now, since my book, Getting Things Done, kind of went worldwide, was a bestseller, the world kind of knocked on our door. So we now have licensees that we've certified to deliver our coaching and training all over the world. And a lot of what I'm doing now is helping support that and keep the brand alive and well, quality up.
Why your passion around getting things done?
Well, first of all, it was just a good job. It's like, hey, I'm primarily an educator. I'm not really an entrepreneur, so aspirationally oriented materially. So finding something that was useful to anybody in any situation that improved their conditions was just a wonderful thing to come across, and to be able to make a career out of that. Wow. How good could it get? So, anybody who reads any of my material or takes any of our trainings or gets any of our coaching, all it does is improve their conditions in work and life, and without fail. So, wow, to have been blessed to have run across or uncovered a methodology that is that bulletproof and that universally useful. How cool is that? So I think passion is overrated. I think satisfied. It's a very satisfactory thing to be doing. It's probably a better term for me anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's an excellent term, because customer experience, employee experience, we're all aiming for satisfaction. So it absolutely makes sense. What's one fact that people may not know about you?
That I had 35 jobs before I was 35, because I didn't sort of really know what I wanted to do with my life. And I've had probably 25 hobbies. I have about a 2-year hobby span. So I jump into things, find out about them, enjoy them, and then, then I kind of say, okay, well, if I did that, then I move on. So I've played bridge, I've played Go, I've played poker, I've played the flute, I've played guitar, I've played electric bass. I have grown bonsai plants. I do ikebana, Japanese flower arranging. I paint. So, so I'm a sort of a jack of all trades in terms of hobbies. And, after 35 jobs, I just found that you either are a consultant or a flake. So I decided to take the positive route.
I like
So I moved into that. Well, a lot of my jobs were, I was more interested in sort of my own personal development, my own spiritual explorations, in my 20s. So I just needed a job to pay the rent. I was more interested in the introspective world and finding out how all that works. And, but I had a bunch of friends who, they seemed to know what they wanted to do. And so they were starting businesses or had small businesses themselves. So I became a really good number 2 guy. So I would just go in and help them do what they were doing. Usually I'd go in and look and see what they were doing and say, how much easier can we do this? Because I'm just Mr. Lazy. And, now they call that process improvement. But I would help improve their process, and then I'd get bored. And so I'd leave and go find another job. Then I discovered one day they actually pay people to do that. They call them something. So, couldn't spell consultant. Now I are one. 1982 hung out my shingle, Allen Associates. And so I just I said, well, let me see if I can just sell myself on a project by project basis. And that's how it all started, way back then.
I think your story is going to inspire a lot of people, especially Gen Z who's coming out of college, these 20-year-olds. And it's hard. You don't always know what you're going to do or what you want to do. And the fact that you and many people, it just evolves. And so it's a good reminder. Have faith, but try a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, I was 55 when I wrote Getting Things Done. So, uh, that's,
Mm.
and, I'll be 76 next month. So, I'd say still lots of time. If you're in your 20s, you got lots of time to explore, and sort of let the chips fall as they may.
Well, let's get into your book and GTD. Let's backtrack here. What is GTD?
It's a set of best practices about how you keep your head clear and stay focused on the most meaningful stuff, and give yourself, appropriate space mentally and psychologically to focus on the cool stuff and not be distracted. So it's just and I didn't make it up. I just recognize what we do when we get a clear head, or what we need to do in order to keep your head undistracted. And I just discovered those piece by piece. I didn't wake up one morning with some grand epiphany about this whole thing. Believe me, there was an awful lot of trial and error and exploration myself over several years to sort of put all this together. But at some point, it started to show up, started to become like a whole intact methodology that basically handled how do I manage across my busy days and weeks, and how do I manage priorities in terms of the horizons of commitments that I have, and
Mm,
and it encompasses all of that. So that's
mm,
actually what it is. I mean, there's some basics of it that are it's not like a new technology or some new foreign language. All the moves in there. I mean, Stacy, if you read the book, there's nothing in there that you don't already do to some degree. You know how to write things down. You know how to get stuff out of your head. You know how to make action decisions. You know how to focus on positive outcomes. You know how to keep lists. You know how to step back and look at your list and look at your calendar and see what the bigger picture is that you're doing, and how to focus yourself today and tomorrow. So these are not new behaviors. It's just very few people do those in a consistent manner. And they're not things you're born doing. You didn't hop out of your mom and go, gee, mom, what are we trying to accomplish? And what's the next action? Is that yours or mine? No, this is something you actually need to learn. And it's actually a muscle that you can train so that you can think this way in a much more appropriate way. It's really a thought process as much as anything. A lot of people think it's about organizing and tools and so forth. And yeah, tools are important, but it's really more about the thought process that you need to apply so you know how to work any tool.
mm. And I want to make sure people understand when I said GTD, what it stands for, which is getting things done.
Yeah, and it's so funny, Stacey. That was you've been in sort of the marketing arena, but we never did any marketing. GTD was our shorthand for getting things done when the book came out, and we just used that as our shorthand for it. And it turned out that it kind of hit a nerve out there, and so it spread, especially in the tech world. The tech world caught on to this very, very, very completely, really around the world. It was one of the first non-tech memes that went across the whole tech world because it's an intact methodology, and it makes a lot of the tech stuff make a lot more sense, for people, and
Mm.
once they know how to do it. And so it was this brand that kind of ran out from under us, kind of a little brand that could. And so we at some point we couldn't help it because everybody's going, oh, GTD. I was like, what's whoa? And we couldn't push that river back. So we just kind of had to hop on and go with the flow in terms of having GTD be a global brand.
What a wonderful journey. So, your methodology enables employees to be more productive and perhaps save time. And I want to go into some of your actionable tips because if you have more time, if you save time from doing some of the mundane things and repetitive things and you're organized, in the end, you'll be able to service customers better and each other better. So, what are some of the things you talk about in GTD that people can actually do today?
Oh, very specific stuff. There are 5 core behaviors that you need to do to get anything sort of under control, get your head clear, and stay focused and undistracted. First of all, you need to capture stuff that has your attention. Get it out of your head. Your head's a crappy office, and most people, that's the biggest problem, is most people trying to use their head to remember, remind, prioritize, and manage relationships, and your brain didn't evolve to do that. So step 1 is to make sure that you identify stuff that has your attention, get it out of your head. And then step 2, you need to then clarify exactly what those things mean and what you're going to do about them, if anything. What outcome are you committed to complete, and what's the action step you need to take to move it forward? And that's the thought process you really need to apply to the stuff that's got your attention. And then if you can't finish the stuff in 2 minutes or less, you need to then park some of those reminders in some sort of a list, some sort of an external brain somewhere. So you're reminded of the errands you need to run, stuff you need to talk to your life partner about, things you need to do at the computer, things you're waiting on to come back from other people, etc. And so organizing, the commitments that you have and the things that have your attention that matter to you in some coherent way is step 3, is organize. And then step 4 is to make sure that you step back and reflect on the contents of all that stuff on some consistent basis. So anybody listening or watching this who's looked at their calendar, in the last day or two, you did that. You stepped back and looked at the larger picture from a little higher perspective. Maybe it was just today or tomorrow or the next week or so. But that gives you a more of a sense to kind of locate yourself in space and time. And that's the reflection process. And that may be reflect on your life purpose, reflect on the purpose and principles in your company, reflect on your goals and objectives, reflect on your job descriptions, reflect on all the projects you're trying to manage and keep track of, and then reflect on all the different actions that you need to take, on all the moving parts of everything. And so that reflection process is step 4. So we've captured, we've clarified, we've organized, then we step back and reflect on the game. And then step 5 is basically you then put your attention and your activity on some trusted place. Okay, if you've done step 1 through 4, then you're making trusted choices about what you do and where you put your focus. Not, gee, I hope this is right, or being driven by latest and loudest. So it puts you back in the driver's seat. It doesn't make life easy. It just puts you in control.
And boy, do we need a sense of control in a very chaotic world.
Yeah, well, but, come on, the chaotic world it also has great opportunity. I had one of my hobbies was sailing, and I had a nice big sailboat that I had in Marina del Rey in California. And, you can't control the tide. You can't control the wind. You can't control the weather. But don't let go of the steering wheel, right? Don't let go of the helm. So, but sometimes those, heavy wind or big waves or whatever can be totally fun as long as you've got control of the boat. So it's not about the world is fine, Stacy. Just look, it's not overwhelmed. It's not tired. Right? It's only how we engage with our world that makes us feel overwhelmed or tired. So, a lot of my methodology was how do I make sure that I am appropriately engaged with my world? So you don't particularly care about your neighbor's email. You just need to be appropriately engaged with yours. So that's a version of the story of called yes. It's a chaotic world in the sense that what the digital world has done and social media has just increased the volume and speed of inputs and and access to a whole lot of stuff, and a lot of the stress is just infinite opportunity. How many things could you be doing when you get off this call with me, Stacy?
Yeah, and the internet doesn't sleep.
Hardly.
So that's part of the problem and opportunity at the same time.
Sure. If you know what you're doing, it's a great time to be alive. Come on, I'm in Amsterdam, you're in New Jersey, and we're talking like we're next door, right? So
Yes.
how cool is that? 15 years ago, you said you're going to be doing what? So again, but we need to know what we're doing to feel comfortable that we're not being distracted while we're trying to do this by a whole bunch of other stuff we haven't managed well.
So, what do you say to people who are like me, working in corporate by day, doing the passion projects by night, and I've got multiple emails and others as well are getting hit by social media, instant messaging, text messaging. I mean, we're getting clobbered with messages. So, in this instance, what would you say to someone like me who is trying to stay focused, but yet clobbered is the word that comes to mind? It's a lot.
Well, there's a magic word. It's two letters called NO.
I didn't
It's
think
a,
you were going to say that.
it's a
Yes.
magic. It's a magic word called I don't think now. See, you've put on hold everything right now except talking to me. I've put on hold everything but talking to you.
Right.
Do we feel good about that or do we feel bad about that? Right. So
Great.
as long as you're feeling good about the choices you're making out of all that, the infinite opportunities, who cares? It's great to go to a restaurant that has a menu that big, right? How many things could you be choosing to do? In a sense, people relax more when they're in a crisis because it just eliminates all those opportunities, you know?
Oh, is that true? Because I remember one of my best presentations I've done was actually when I was so tired. I was exhausted and I had no room in my brain for anything. And I just turned everything off and I showed up and I was focused because I was so tired. There wasn't even capacity to be jolted by anything. So there's
Yeah.
truth to that.
If anybody watches the first TEDx I did at Claremont College, I tell a story of being on a sailboat and running into serious problems. Almost got me and my girlfriend at the time drowned, and the boat crashed against a huge cliff. It had to be rescued by the Coast Guard. But I talk about the fact that in the middle of all that, we looked up at this gorgeous moon and just had this incredible Zen moment. It's like so because there was no other option. There was nothing else to do. And the whole point of
Mm.
that is that you can get to that same sort of clear space without having to be in a crisis. So that was my, I guess, after the fact, aha, about getting things done. It's about how do I get to that clear space so that I have free ability to put my attention where I want, the way I want, when I want, without having to be in a crisis to get into that space.
Oh, that's beautifully said. And we need that more in the workplace because you can't have empathy and you can't listen to customers and each other without that space and focus. So it's a great reminder. Now, you say list is a dirty word. What do you mean by that?
Well, most people's lists are nothing but incomplete lists of still unclear things that when they look at them, they create almost as much stress as they relieved. So there's lists and there's lists. I got a bunch of lists, but they're nice and clear. I don't have to rethink anything. They're the result of having finished my thinking. So when I look at my list of errands, I don't need to think, what is that and why is that on that list? I know exactly why it's on that list, and that's what it is. I made that decision about the next action, and then park that on the list. So lists are great, So when I say list is a dirty word, it just simply means that most people resist the idea of lists, and they think because I have, golly, I don't know how many lists I have. I have checklists for travel. I have all kinds of checklists. I have all kinds of lists. Come on, your calendar's a list, right? All those things are just, keeping track of stuff that I need to be able to see when I'm in a certain context. So my brain doesn't have to keep remembering, reminding, prioritizing whatever all that stuff is. I go out for errands. It's obvious what my errands are. I've already made that decision. I don't need to rethink anything. But see, if you look
Mm.
at most people's to-do list, you see things like mom. Oh, great. You probably had one. Some good historical data. Well, why did you write it down? Well, her birthday's coming. Great. What are you going to do about mom's birthday? I don't know. Yeah, and that's the problem, is that people still have captured stuff, and a lot of stuff on their list is still unclear in terms of what
Mm.
exactly it means, and they haven't finished their thinking. And if you haven't finished your thinking about mom and birthday keeps spinning like a little squirrel in your brain that'll wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God, what am I going to do about mom's birthday? Right? So you need to finish your thinking. And a lot of what are on my list is having finished thinking. Now here's the appropriate reminder in the appropriate place and space, that when I'm in a context, like talking to my wife about the business of life stuff and the renovation of our apartment that's going on, you know, I've already made all those decisions. I don't have to keep rethinking what do I need to think about that.
Well, I also love in your book, you talk about putting your list in actually, and you just said the context. So the list of when I'm in the office, and those are the things I have to do. So that it's easy. I mean, we do it naturally in a supermarket. We have a shopping list, but applying that to other parts of our life.
Yeah, common sense. But most people don't do it.
No, I love that. I remember that stood out to me. Do you think it's different for the younger generation versus the older generation, Gen Z, Gen X, in terms of GTD and the approach? Because we grew up very differently, even in our communication styles.
Is there any difference in the generations? Not really. I mean, this is universal stuff. This has been true for 100 years and will be for 300 years. No matter who does this, these things will help anybody who's got a busy life be more focused and clearer and less stress. And, you know, there are different personality types. Some people love the detail stuff. Some people love the big picture stuff. And everybody's got some sort of a weak suit there. And so I think in the newer generations, you know, especially these days, as long as they're not in crisis mode, they want quality of life probably more than ever before. So, you know, yeah, they're aspirational kids and entrepreneurs and so forth. But a lot of people just say, look, I want to make sure I have a nice life. And so there's a big interest for that reason in getting things done. You know, for the kids that still want to be able to have a nice, you know, busy life and, you know, have a decent living and good career and, you know, follow their hobbies and so forth, or have a family, boy, you know, all is if you're single and young and 23, it's all an adrenaline rush. You get bored going home anyway. Right. But as soon as you got kids or dogs
Yes.
or, you know, as soon as you grow up a little bit, you think it's going to get easier. Nah, don't hold your breath.
No.
Yeah.
No, and
Yeah.
they're also more of a texting generation. I mean, I'll often remind more one child than the other to go check your email. Don't forget you have email. Like it is very different. I think they actually simplify their lists better than the older generation, but that's a generalization.
Yeah. I mean, the texting generation is, you know, a friend of mine, Theo Compernoli, wrote a book, Brain Chains. He's Belgian. He's a brilliant professor and researcher and psychologist. And anyway, his book is a rant about the younger generation, that it just doesn't do any deep thinking because of all the texting and all the social media stuff. They don't give themselves reflection time. They're not taking time to, you know, go a little more inner and think of things in a little deeper way.
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of rant. It's like, hey, live and learn. You know, don't worry. You know, you'll get older. That solves a lot of stuff. You know, so
No, no, the alternative is we're dead. So no. Got to get older. Got to get older and keep learning for sure. Well, GTD, anything else that you want to leave with my audience here? And I would say, actually, if I had tons of people in my room right now, leaders, CEOs, managers, what are the key takeaways that you want them to know to be able to focus more, be more productive, applying some of your principles?
I would say don't rob yourself of what you consider the most important, valuable things in your life. Because a lot of times people get to that stage because of their aspirations and their success, and they're good. They're really good at what they do. But sometimes that spin can just spin more than their emotional, psychological, spiritual life actually wants to tolerate or should tolerate, for them to feel balanced and relaxed, and to be even a better leader, to really model what it's like to have a quality of life, in addition to your work. And that, especially these days, because, the big trend is self-organizing organizations. So, when my small company, when we implemented Holacracy, which is a self-organizing operating system, I was able to distribute my stress to the rest of my staff, which was fabulous. And so, being able to monitor and manage that appropriately. Just a little sidebar, Stacy, is that I've had so many sort of GTD champions and aficionados really get this and get so excited because now with this tool, with this methodology, they can get so much more done and be so cool. And then after a couple of years, they go, wait a minute. I'm giving myself way too much to do because I thought I could do it all. And so a lot of their awakening is, well, wait a minute. It has as much to do with the quality of life, and so that you're not over committing and then burning out. And so just be careful about that for people personally at that stage in terms of CEOs or whatever. And I've coached some of the best and brightest, believe me. And many times that's their biggest issue. Sometimes it's their personal life that's gone to hell in a handbasket because of all the attention they put on their career. And so they and that started to eat at them and started to grab their attention in subtle ways sometimes. So I just say, just be aware, be conscious of what you're doing. And there's nothing wrong with being a 24/7 career man or woman, go for it until it doesn't work. But as soon as things start to not work, that's where GTD comes in. See, this getting things done. If your life is on cruise control, fine, don't bother. But if it's not, what's not? And getting more sensitive and subtle about recognizing what has your attention, about what needs to be changed or what needs to be different than it currently is. Once you recognize that, do you know how to make that change and to make it different? That's where getting things done, is a great tool.
Well, I also believe that our brains, I imagine you have to really know the sense of the brain. And what I mean by that is if you take me versus my husband doesn't have a single list. Everything is in his head of what he needs to do. And he must not put all the things that I do each day. He's able to minimize it because you only have so much space in your head. And then for me, I go through life and I get excited by a lot of things. And I know that I have to write it down because then I can get it out of my head and keep moving on. But the key is putting it in the right place now, soon, or later, or maybe never. But I just see the difference between my husband and I can imagine you have the full gamut of people.
Yeah. Well, again, if all that works for him, fine. But your brain did not evolve to remember, remind, prioritize, or manage relationships between more than 4 things. That's new cognitive research and science. So as soon as you're trying to keep track of more than 4 things, you're going to sub-optimize your cognitive ability. You won't be able to think as clearly, be as free in your head to think about what you want to think about when you want to think about it. And don't shoot the messenger. I just discovered that experientially and just, on the street really 35 years ago. But the cognitive scientists in the last 10 years just read, there's tons of books out there that talk about, the fact that your brain did not evolve to do, your brain evolved to do very cool stuff. You and I are doing that right now, which is long-term history and pattern recognition. So you're sitting there going, oh, that's a computer. Oh, that's David. That's a guy. That's a book. That's a light. Yeah. And the computers can barely even do that now. So your brain evolved to do that, but you go to the store for lemons, you come back with 6 things and no lemons. What happened? You tried to use your head as your office, and it sucks as an office. So
Oh,
if your husband can make life work, doing that, I don't care. Doesn't bother me.
or just gets less done and okay with it.
As long as he's okay with it. Yeah, that's fine. Yay.
Yes, yes. Do you have a preference, by the way, with in getting things done electronically versus handwritten? I know a lot of people keep changing their approaches, as do I, to find that sweet spot. Do you have an opinion?
My capture is 99% low tech because no batteries required, no Wi-Fi anywhere. So on my desk, God knows when, lightning struck twice today. So, a couple of things grabbed as they occurred to me while I was doing something else. Also, when I'm out and about, that goes with me wherever. Credit cards, PIN cards goes with me with a little pen, a little notepad. So, and I've done that for 35 years, right? So low tech to me is for capturing. Now, I manage lists on my computer, so we've now migrated to Office 365. So, I'm using the to-dos there, and I use OneNote for a lot of my lists and checklists and things like that. So, yeah, so I use both, kind of whichever is the easiest. If you know what to do, you can use any of these tools. I used a paper-based planner for 20 plus years. It was a great tool because you could see the whole thing. It was physical. You could mark, you could highlight stuff once they were done. And, it was a great tool. So in a way, I kind of missed that. But the advantage is there's no perfect tool because if you're paper based, you don't have all the links and all the copy and paste and all that cool stuff you can do digitally. But if you're digital, you don't have the touch and feel. You got how many screens do you have to look at to see what to do? And
Yeah.
especially if you're an ADD or ADHD type person where your attention tends to be distracted quickly, you won't go past two clicks before you get
Mm,
frustrated. You won't do it.
mm,
And so a lot of
mm,
people we have coached who are in that syndrome have gone back to paper planners simply because it's easier, it's faster, it's more accessible,
mm.
easily. So again, there's no right or wrong about any of that. So what will you do? What do you use? You know?
Yeah. And how do you categorize and bucket things, which you talk a lot about in your book and
Yeah.
so helpful?
Yeah. But you could do that in a paper notebook, but you can also do it you can easily do it in, categorizing your list on a computer.
Yes. My last question, if you could go back in time to talk to younger David, 20-year-old David, what do you know now that you didn't know then?
To trust the inner voice, your intuition about sort of the highest good that you could be doing at any point in time, or what you should be doing, or what's the best thing that you need to focus on. I wasn't aware of that as an
Mm,
opportunity back then, but I
mm.
use it regularly now.
So would you say follow your gut? Is that
Yeah. Or your liver or your heart or your soul or whatever. I don't know, whatever it is that kind of rings your bell, either way.
yes. Oh, I like heart. I'm going to go with the heart. Follow your heart and your brain and yes. Well, where can people find you and your book and best reach out to you? What I'll add it to the show notes.
Well, we don't sell my books, so go to your local bookstore. We love supporting local bookstores, so please do that and get the late version, the new 2015 version of Getting Things Done. That's the manual of all this. And I've got two or three other books too, but that's sort of the Bible, if you will, of GTD. And so that's where you can get the book. But you can go to gettingthingsdone.com, which is our website. And if you're interested in a deeper dive with one-on-one coaching or going to a live training, which are great, by the way, just click on training and coaching and then click on your country. And then you'll see who our licensed distributors are and that we've certified to do that training and coaching. So that would be great. If you just want to hear a bunch of me jabber about all kinds of different things and interviews, just go to gettingthingsdone.com/YouTube and you'll see You see, lots of me talking to lots of different people about lots of different things about all this. So those are all options. If you go to our website, we have a free newsletter, so you can sign up for that. That's pretty easy to do.
Well, I completely, wholeheartedly recommend listeners do that. I'm a big fan, and I'm so grateful to have you here today. Thank you so much.
Stacy, it's been my pleasure. Yeah, it was fun. Good luck.
Thank you.